If you have ever struggled to find a good hairstylist, or you've gone to the salon, explained to your stylist what you wanted, and ended up with something completely different, I'm gonna help you out. Today, I'm gonna walk you through what I know as a professional hairstylist for 30 years that's gonna help you, one, be able to find the right stylist, and two, be able to understand how to speak to them so you actually get what you want. So let's talk about that. And side note, we're just here having dinner, so it's gonna be a little bit different than my normal videos. I just kind of feel like there's so much AI and random information online right now that I just wanted to bring something to you that was completely authentic and just not edited and everything. So join us while we kind of hang out, cook some dinner, and I explained all of this stuff to you. So what I'm gonna do in this video is break down exactly what you need to do before you even start looking for a stylist, some things that you need to know, and then how you actually can look for a stylist, how you find a good one in your area. And then what you need to know, like the things that you need to do and not do during the consultation, as well as some answers, some questions that you need to answer, because unfortunately we can't trust the stylist is gonna ask them. But it's information they need to know, so we're gonna talk about all of that. And if you haven't met her, this is my wife, Deanna. Say hi, Deanna. She's gonna be doing most of the cooking. I'll be doing most of the running my mouth. Okay, before you start looking into trying to find a stylist, you need to ask yourself 3 very specific and very important questions. You need to ask yourself, what features of your face do you love? Or are there any features of your face that you want to take the focus away from? This is super important because it's more important that you have a style that flatters those features or kind of takes focus off of those features than it is that you just have a style that looks good, right? A style that's styled well. So if you don't know these things, the stylist might tell you what they see, and it might be completely opposite of what you see. Or worse yet, they might even not tell you at all what they see and just cut your hair according to what they're thinking, and then find out that maybe you like your eyes, but they're bringing the focus to your smile or something, and it's completely opposite of what you're trying to achieve. Then you need to ask yourself, do you feel like your face is on the fuller or on the longer side? Often people try to put themselves into a very specific face shape, but I find that typically what we're really trying to achieve is either adding more fullness to our face because we feel like it's too long, or trying to take the fullness away. And most people are kind of a combination of a couple of different face shapes. So pinpointing yourself into one is gonna be a nightmare, and it's just gonna frustrate you. So don't stress so much about that. Figure out one of those 2 things and then take this information, and that can go to the stylist. You'll end up better off like 9 out of the 10 times, promise. Okay, and the third question is, what length range do you feel the most comfortable in? This is super important because your stylist may talk you into a very short haircut or a much longer haircut. And it doesn't really matter even if you feel good in the chair. If you don't feel comfortable, like you don't feel like yourself in that haircut or that length range, you're gonna be upset 5 minutes after you leave the salon. So just try to determine what length range do you feel the most confident in right now, and recognize that this is gonna change through the years of your life, but also understand that that length doesn't mean that you can only do one haircut or another haircut. It isn't a length that's gonna change whether or not a haircut looks good on you. It's what you do in the length. So just because you like collarbone length hair doesn't mean that it's not gonna look as good on you as if your hair were shorter. They're just 2 different scenarios. They both can look great. So figure out which one's the most comfortable. Promise you'll like your haircut 10 times more. You don't agree?
Agree.
She agrees.
Pay attention.
Okay, so once you determine those answers, then you can start actually looking for a stylist. So let me tell you what I wouldn't do. Don't go to Google and don't go to Pinterest or something like that, or use Yelp to try to find the salon nearest you and then just go to that salon, or even a high-rated salon. Because just because it's a high-rated salon does not mean that the stylist that you're looking for is at that salon. And also, just because the salon isn't necessarily high-rated, well, one, that could be a Yelp thing to begin with. That's a whole nother subject. I don't trust any of those reviews for the most part. But also, you might find a salon that's not that great, but they have the perfect stylist for you and your hair texture and your style that you're looking for. You had to do this not too long ago. Remember when you had to find a colorist?
Oh yeah.
What did you do?
I went on to Instagram.
And what did you search on Instagram?
Bend So the area we're at, and then I think like blonde or hair color or something like that. Yeah, blonde. Yeah, and then I actually found somebody that was like bend blonde. It was perfect.
So you basically type in the specific style that you like. If there is like, let's say for instance, you love bob haircuts, bob haircut, and then also the area that you live in. And you start trying to find a stylist through that because you can see their work. Now, if you don't have a style that you're looking for, bob isn't the thing. You just want a specific, maybe like haircut, but you don't know what to call it. Then start looking for your texture or your length. So let's say you've got very thin, fine hair. Thin, fine hair, Bend, Oregon, that's where we live, right? Thin, fine hair, wherever you live. Maybe your hair is super thick. Thick hair, blah, 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 your place of, where you live. Very thin hair, wherever you live. So those are great search terms or a format to go into Instagram or to TikTok and start looking for those terms and then try to find somebody in your area. That is a much safer bet than trying to Google things or use Yelp. Definitely don't use Yelp. Whole nother subject. While you're looking for those stylists, start going to Pinterest or Google and start looking for different hairstyles that you like. Now, the biggest misconception here is that people think that they have to find the exact hairstyle. Not true at all. Start finding length ranges, right? You already know the length range that you want to be in. Start finding different hairstyles in that length range and start figuring out things that you like and things that you don't like. This is too short. I don't like how this is too straight. This doesn't have enough movement. This one has bangs, but the bangs are too short. Whatever it is. And then also find the things that you do like. I like this length exactly. It feels like it's the right length. It doesn't feel like it'd be too short for me. I like the bangs on this. I like the layers on this. I like the fact that this has wave, whatever it is. But determine those two things, get a bunch of photos of each. Now, if you found a salon on Instagram, but not necessarily a stylist, then what I would do is reach out to that specific salon and again, ask them specific words. Do you have senior stylists that specializes and then you insert either the cut or style that you're looking for or your length range, or do you have a senior stylist that specializes in bob haircuts, in curly hair or thin hair, whatever it is. Then you want to book with that stylist. You're going to ask to book a consultation before your haircut. And I know this is not ideal because it's an extra time thing, but you don't want to do a haircut, get there, go through a consultation, halfway through the consultation realize that you two are on the same page, and then feel really awkward and not want to leave the salon. So what you can do instead, you say, I want to book a consultation. And then after that, if you feel good, then you can book the haircut. Trust me, I know it's an extra step, but it's going to save you a ton of grief. If you feel awkward about the person that you're dealing with, I've done that. Now, most places, or a lot of places, I used to do free consultations. There might be a slight charge for it, but if I'm completely honest, it's worth paying the charge just to make sure that you two see eye to eye. Okay, so let's talk about some do's and don'ts, some things that you have to do and some things that you cannot do when you're actually in the chair. First off, don't start using industry terms. Don't use terms that you learned online. Don't use terms that you saw when you were looking up the hairstyles you like. Don't use terms that you've spoken to other stylists with in the past. This is super important because what one term might mean to me could mean something completely different to somebody else. You might say texturizing to me. I like my hair texturized, and I hear thinning because in my world, texturizing and thinning are the same thing, which in reality, they are very different things. So you might end up with your hair overly thinned and all you wanted was a little texturizing. So instead, what's best to do is show those photos. That's why we have them. And you can just say, I don't like how this one looks like this. This one looks thin at the ends. This one looks too full in the sides. I feel like I want less volume. You can explain through visually what you like and don't like. And you can also express what you do and don't like in general. That's another thing that's super important. Don't just tell the stylist what you do like, tell them what you don't like. So you don't know how to say texturizing, or you shouldn't say the word texturizing. What do you do instead? Hey, I love when my hair has movement, but I don't like it when it feels too thin. Like when you comb it and then the ends feel overly thin, like they feel like there's just not enough hair there, right? I don't like it when my hair looks like there's lines all over it, like it's kind of choppy. All of those things are saying, I want my hair texturized, but they're not using the term. But more importantly, you're telling them what you like, and you're also explaining what you don't like so that they don't just leave your hair untexturized, because they didn't know that you wanted it texturized. Another one is do not use inches to explain length. Never do that, or whatever, foot, whatever it is. This is so important because your inch and my inch could be very different. So if you say, just take an inch off the ends, or I want my hair, 3 inches shorter, that could be this much to you and that much to me. And because I didn't ask exactly where it was, because some stylists won't, now you took your hair much shorter than you wanted to. So instead, be very visual with your explanations. I want my hair no shorter than this, okay? I want this much off of the ends. And I find that more importantly, it's actually better that you tell them what the limit is more than what you want. Instead of saying, I want my hair to here, say, I don't want my hair any shorter than this, okay? There's something about that I think just does a better job of ringing it home for them and like really setting in stone exactly how you're gonna feel when you leave if they don't do this correctly. So try that. And then the last thing is explain anything that you've had in the past that you loved or didn't love. These are really important to know as well. And sometimes the stylist isn't gonna ask what you've had in the past, but it's really important that they understand if there's any little aspects about this length range. Maybe you're talking about collarbone length again, right? And you're like, well, I want it no shorter than this because this is the length range I feel more comfortable in. And then that doesn't tell them that you didn't like it when it was layered in the front shorter than that, right? And you're showing them styles that maybe have a lot of layers, and maybe layers are necessary, but you actually like your layers to be a little bit on the longer side versus on the shorter side. All they see is you want your length here and you want layers, and it didn't arise to them that you didn't want them to be too short right in your head. So if you explain all of those things or explain exactly what you've had that you absolutely loved, it's gonna be much easier for them to understand a roadmap of where they need to be heading to make sure that you're happy with this result. Okay, let's talk about a few questions that your stylist needs to ask you, but they might not, so you're just gonna tell them anyway. Question number 1 is step by step, what do you do to your hair to style it? Now this is specific. I mean, not, well, I use a round brush and then I, blow dry it and then I, let it sit. Very specifically, you shower in the morning, you shower at night. Shower in the morning, okay? When you get in the shower, what do you do step by step? I towel blot my hair, I put my hair up, I go get my makeup, I do my makeup, I come back, I add this product and this product because I want this result and this result. Then I start to blow dry my hair, get the rest of the moisture out, like every step and every tool and every product you use. A lot of stylists won't ask this, but they need to know because it's going to dictate a lot of where the style goes. If you don't spend a lot of time in your hair and you don't want to, but you're asking for a style that is extremely highly, takes a long time to style, right? It's not gonna do you any favors when they do that and you like the way it looks when you leave the salon, but you don't wanna spend the time to do that. So it's kind of irrelevant. So make sure that they know step by step what you're doing and also why you're doing it. There might be something that you're doing that you don't realize because you've never been told is not doing you any services. And if you actually just modified this 1 or 2 different things, you could get much closer to the result that you want. In some cases, it can kind of like prompt them to help you understand how to style your hair because you're kind of asking the question in a way, or you're giving that information to them and allowing them the opportunity to respond to that. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? You can still not listen. She never listens. What do you do for work? This is really important too because it gives them a little bit of insight into who you are and if there's anything specific about the haircut that needs to be taken into consideration because of your work. Maybe you pull your hair back all the time. Maybe you constantly have to be very conservative at work, but you aren't naturally conservative, right? All of these things need to come into play and should be in play when you're deciding on what style to move into. The next one is, again, kind of this, the work thing. Do you pull your hair back often? If you pull your hair back all the time, then they're gonna wanna leave lengths in certain areas, or at minimum, they're gonna wanna explain to you when or how much of that hair is gonna fall out and what you can do to address that to make sure that it's not a problem for you moving forward. That last one, or actually the next one, is what do you consider your style to be? Like, how do you see yourself? Are you fun? Are you, more conservative or more classic, or just kind of what do you feel like describes your personality? again, this is important for people to understand when they're trying to figure out what style to move you towards. This is so hot right now. Weird. This is like the worst place to film this video. I'm gonna go over here again. The last thing that you want to make sure that they know is how often you're able or willing to have maintenance done. How often can you get back into the salon? Because if you can only make it to the salon every few 4 or 5 months, that's gonna modify how I approach a haircut to help you get a little bit more longevity out of it. Or at minimum, it might modify just the direction that we head in terms of what style that makes the most sense for you. But all of that information together is gonna help you and your stylist make the best decision for you. And that makes you happy, right?
Right.
If you liked this video, check out this video. Actually, if you like this video, comment below. I know this is such a weird, like, just, hey, join us while we cook dinner, while she cooks dinner and I just yap my face. But
And if you want my free 10 recipe guide, because I really can't cook very well, there'll be a link in the description.
that's so loaded. I can't cook very well, but then
But
she cooks amazingly.
So you make it easy. Cabbage, ground chicken, avocado, Greek yogurt, salsa.
She can't cook at all. But the food tastes good.